and welcome to our lesson 14. Today we are going to be looking at key constraints. A key helps us to identify a set of attributes, and it's from those attributes that we are able to distinguish entities from one another. Keys helps us also to identify the relationships, and equally helps us to distinguish relationships from each other. We normally have 6 types of keys. One is primary key, a foreign key, a composite key, a surrogate key, a candidate key, and a compound key. We begin with the first one, primary key. It is one or more fields within a relation that uniquely identifies the row in that particular table. In other words, that field for which the values that will be populated there can never be repeated. One thing that you need to note is that the primary key can never be null. So when you are populating, let's take an example of a customer's table. You have a customer ID, a forename, and a surname. The customer ID, we don't expect that the ID one to ever be repeated. So that field that you know that the values that are populated there are going to be unique, then we are going to term that field as the primary key. It could be a registration number for a student. It could be the national ID number for a citizen. You look at the forename and you see Emma being repeated. When you look at surname, Jones is being repeated. So these ones cannot qualify to be the primary key. So it's always critical to identify which field is going to be unique. The next is a foreign key, which is a key that forms a relationship between columns in 2 database tables, one of which is indexed, or rather one of which is the primary key. And this helps us to ensure that there is consistency of the data. Let's take an example. We have these 2 tables. One table has the courses, the other table is the students table. The course ID is the primary key in this particular table. However, we are going to see that the course ID is equally appearing in the students table. Reason being that more than one student can actually enroll in the same course, because we have Jim, who has enrolled in C002, which is computing, and we equally have Amanda, who have equally enrolled in computing. So where we are having the course ID in the students table, we are going now to refer to this as the foreign key. Why? Because it has established us a relationship with the course ID that exists in the courses table, where it is a primary key. So the foreign key just helps us to build that relationship. We have also what we refer to as a composite key. A composite key is a primary key that is formed or that is composed of one or more columns. If we look at this particular relation that has the registration number, the subject, and the marks, we are going to see that none of these single fields can uniquely identify the row. Registration number being repeated because you can have the student doing more than one subject. We can't have the subject as the primary key because you can see there's a possibility that more than one student can be taking the same subject. And equally marks cannot, because you can have more than one student having the same set of marks. So what do? We combine 2 of them, registration number and subject. And that forms a unique identifier. And we can refer to that combination as the composite key. We equally have a surrogate key, which is a primary key that is internally generated. And we normally say that within the real world, it does not exist. Something like a patient ID, something like a customer ID. In the real world, we don't have something like a patient number or a customer ID. So you can see that for the relation for the customer, we had the ID being internally generated. And as it's being internally generated, it auto-increments. So whenever a new record is added, automatically the ID is populated. That's what referred to as a surrogate key. We again have a candidate key, which could be either a column or a group of columns, or what we can say a field or a set of fields that can uniquely identify a row. And for them, they don't have to refer to any other source. Most of the times, whenever you have a relation that has multiple fields that are likely to form the candidate key, one of it is normally picked to be the primary key. If we look at this particular relation, we know that ID is unique, roll number is unique, and even email ID is going to be unique. In as much as we take the ID to be the primary key, we equally know that roll number is equally going to be unique, and the email ID is equally going to be unique. So this is what we are going to be referring to as the candidate keys, that there are fields or multiple fields that equally can uniquely identify a row. Then we have the compound key, which begins from two or more fields that can uniquely describe or differentiate a row within a table. If we take an example of this relation, you can see that a particular product may be ordered by more than one customer, like lilies. So product cannot qualify. We equally know that one customer or one product can be ordered by more than one customer. So again, like C1 and C2, they ordered the same product. So in the event that we need to form a compound key, which we normally begin from 2 fields to 3 fields and so on and so forth, we have to combine the order ID and the product ID to form the compound key. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.